What's good, everybody? Happy Monday to you. What is this weird stuff we are listening to? Did you all have a good weekend? Paul, first, tuning in from cloudy Maryland today. It is wet and cloudy here in Portland. We're not alone. Heidi's here, present. Plumber on his way. Uh-oh. Hope everything's all right over there, Paul. Yes, Jafar is here. Heidi is here. All right. Yo, Skinhead89, how you doing? Prescient. Having or showing knowledge of events before they take place. Imaginet is in the house. What's up, Danny? How you doing? All right. So, Monday. I've been in meetings all morning. So I got to get into the groove. Question. Hey, Chris, do you know publishers or libraries who work with an upfront fee? Are you speaking like they would pay you in advance and you would then create content and deliver said content? Is that what you mean? Paul says, tough weekend here. Router upgrade having issues. Water heater died yesterday. Serenity now. Serenity now. Oh, man. Yeah. Bar says, Omi pressing. Having knowledge of what note is going to play before OhmLab presses the key. Snap. Oh! Check this out. Danny is saying, yo, doing good, making serum presets, about to go to my first singing lesson in a couple of hours. Dude, that's awesome. This is great. Yo, Saf, what's up, dude? You're late. You can pick up your referral slip from the principal's office. How you doing, homie? Yeah, okay, so Skinhead, this is actually kind of in line with some stuff that we're going to talk about today. We've got a whole bunch of people in this community that have reached out and asked for help with getting into this side of the business, right? Making money by making music and sound for those who use music and sound, not just listen. Kind of long gone are the days where you would dream of becoming a musician and then like garner a following, and then those people that follow you would feed you and clothe you and stuff because they would constantly be paying to see you and buying your albums and stuff just doesn't happen now. So how do we do this? Well, maybe we should start at the very top and talk about what licensing is and why we've seen the changes that we've seen in the industry. We can do all of that in just a couple of minutes. Don't worry, it's not like super dry and technical or anything. But then just kind of move quickly into why we're seeing subscription services dominate now and why we should probably expect to see them to dominate moving forward. And what is the difference between copyright and royalty-free and all that kind of stuff, because it all matters, right? Okay, so let's start at the top. Andremi is here. Yo, how you doing? All right, so here we go. If you go out and you buy an album, it gives you a license to listen to that album, right? Doesn't give you a license to make a copy of that album and give it to your buddy, or copy a track onto a mixtape and give it to someone for Valentine's Day. It doesn't give you a license to do any of those things. People still do that though, right? But it's important to understand that like each time you're purchasing a piece of music or sound or something that someone's made, there's rules, right? Okay. So that by and large is where a lot of the complexity starts. Like a lot of the complexity. Uh, Traditionally, before royalty free became a thing, it used to work like this. I made a thing. I'd sell it to you, who also made a thing and needs sound and music for that thing. And I'm going to sell it to you at a really high price. And I'm also going to take a small amount of money every single time somebody watches that thing that you made, my sounds and my music or anything. That's royalty. Royalty free means I'm going to sell you this thing. And then it's done. Like our business together is done. You don't have to pay me anymore, regardless of how many times someone ends up watching this thing. Now, that kind of takes care of the rules in this neighborhood. But what about all of the other towns and neighborhoods around me, other countries in the world, that have different viewpoints and beliefs about content and ownership of intellectual property and what people are worth and what their sounds are worth, all this kind of stuff? It becomes exhausting, right? So over the past, let's say 15 years or so, royalty free has become a bigger and bigger and bigger thing because it allows people to have a one and done conversation and move on, right? Someone needs a sound, boom, I will make your sound. I'll make your sound. And instead of selling it to you for, say, $1,000, I'm going to sell it to you for $10. Just know that I'm going to sell it to other people too, and that's okay. And we all move on. You don't have to owe me any money when people watch this thing in the future. Totally cool by me. I'm going to go sell that thing to thousands and thousands of other people now. Bye. So now as a creator, I have this thing that I made, and I can sell it for years and years and years. Right? That creator got to use my thing. Boom. People can watch it for years and years and years. Doesn't cost them anything else, right? It's a pretty good win-win situation. So now we got to take one more step forward into the age of the universal license, which is basically saying that we're going to have one kind of license, and that's it. You can use the sounds and music however you want. So if we take just a couple steps back, in the royalty-free era, you're looking at different types of licenses. Is it a personal license? Are you just uploading a video of your kid's birthday party to YouTube and you want some funny music behind it? Cool. Or is it like a big broadcast license? Is this going to be a film that goes into festivals and then movie theaters? Are people going to be buying soundtracks of this thing? If so, then you're going to pay more for that license, for that royalty-free license that says you can put that stuff into a project. Cool. Okay, the universal license now says, all right, the world is complex, confusing, and full of a lot of different opinions and ideas. So we're going to create one license that says you can use this however you want. Now, if you're really, really big and you're going to broadcast this like on Netflix or something, we're going to charge you more every month. But everyone's going to have access to largely the same stuff. So whether you have a little blog, or you're an agency, or you're big like Netflix, subscribe to us and we'll give you one unlimited license that you can use for your productions. And the way that a lot of them are able to do that is that they own the content. Because if it's your stuff, who's going to get upset how it's used? So, this is why subscription models are starting to win out in the long run. And to go back to the question from Skinhead89, music just distracting. Yes, I can absolutely stop it. Sorry about that. All right, so the question that came in from 89 was, are there places that will pay you in advance? Okay, yes. The answer is yes, because if you look at one of the bigger companies in this hunt right now, the really, really big ones are Epidemic Sound, Soundstripe, and Artlist. Those are the big guys, right? And I'm talking music and sound for licensing specifically, right? Not Splice. Splice, you can go buy sounds. It's largely intended for music production. Loopmasters, LoopCloud, Sounds.com, which is Native Instruments, like all of these different marketplaces, they're very much intended for music making. So the rules and the licenses that come with the sound packs and stuff, they're very much geared towards music making. You look at the other ones, though, slightly higher subscription cost. Your license terms are easily understood. And there's a couple of different models. There's the model where the platform owns everything, and the model where they do not. And the model where they own everything, it's really cut and dry and simple. And they can pay you, some of them, in advance, like a salary basically, to continue to produce for them. I mean, you're kind of on the hook, and you just kind of chase inspiration and make whatever is in your niche. The other model is a bit more convoluted because it's based upon all of the money that's coming in each month from subscribers, all of the new and existing creative assets by all of the different publishers, right? All the different creators, um, all of the costs and overhead and marketing and promotions, and then the slush that's left over from all of that, and how that stuff gets divvied up. And some of it is very fair and even Steven, and some of it is very spiff. It's very like bonus motivated. If you upload and you're more active, you're going to get more. If you made more of the overall sales, you're going to get more, right? So this incentivization of content creation in an ongoing way. So those are the two main models, and the license type is largely the same. It says that like on the basic plan, you can go ahead, you can use sounds and music freely in personal or low level productions. If you are like an agency and you've got a book of clients and you're publishing stuff all the time for them across multiple channels, here's a higher price for you. And then there's the enterprise folks, right? The big folks, the Saatchi and Saatchi buyers and the television networks and stuff like that, right? So you've got those are enterprise. Now, from a content creator, you're not really worried about all of that. You're just worried about which marketplace you're in because you have a niche that you fill. You just have to find the right marketplace. Um, and in regards to how you end up um, like prospering and sustaining yourself is really about how you operate within that network, within that system. How are you releasing your content? Like, is it a slow and steady drip of daily presence, which is preferred, or are you a more typical creator who's putting stuff out periodically? Um, there are absolutely ways in which you can start to kind of dominate. Um, and it's also a good idea not to necessarily put all your eggs in one basket in the beginning until you figure out your footing, your preferences, where you feel, um, the situation is benefiting you the most. Yes, yes, and Javar brings up a really good point. Keep in mind that you have to have a full body of work. Um, there's an oversaturation of artists. AI is on the horizon. There are a lot of different complexities. Here's what I will say, though, as a response to all of the like the trepidation of getting started and all of the things that must be overcome. Um, a lot of you already have a ton of content sitting on your hard drive, right? And right now, it's not actually doing anything for you financially. And once it starts to, it motivates you and you start to think of it very differently. And the more often you engage in this process, the more stuff you upload and then allow people to use, the easier it is for you to part ways with it, right? With content in general. And you start to think about these things very differently. Um, but the most important part is getting started. And if you have a large body of work, then yes, you can approach like a library or a subscription service and say, this is what I have to offer. What can we do? You also have the option of cherry picking some of the content from your body of work, from your larger body of work, and putting those things into a more boutique system that's focused on royalties, right? You can take some of your eggs and put them into a different basket. You could start harvesting sounds from your music and start uploading those as individual sounds that people could download in the system. There's many ways in which you can become a little bit more savvy, um, but it all does require just the constant and steady presence, like that persistent nature. What's a full body of work? Says Cardia. It depends on what you're trying to sell. If they're all full mix music cues, and they're all like full length songs, then it's going to take a bit. You know, what if you have like maybe 40 tracks or something? Um, that's pretty decent for a start, right? It's not anything compared to folks that have been doing this for a very, very long time. So just know that the expectation of growth is there immediately. Um, and if you're wondering how you can achieve such high numbers, like high volume output of individual tracks, start thinking about it from the perspective of the buyer. Okay, and recognize the fact that if you are going to go down this road, you're making a shift. You're making a shift in what you're producing, right? It's not selling out, it's producing a different kind of content. And here's the biggest difference. You're producing for yourself in regards to you're producing a track that you are going to put up on Spotify or whatever, and you want people all over the place just to listen to it because it's really, really good. That means that there's going to be a lot of overt activity in that production that is intended to garner attention versus creating content for screen or for other people to use in their projects. What you need to do is produce supportive stuff that doesn't garner all of the attention, right? Something that is going to be impressive or help make something more immersive or trigger certain kinds of moods or responses within people in general. But it shouldn't be dominant, really. In most cases, there's all sorts of licensing opportunities for hit songs, right? And it's kind of a separate conversation because the large majority of content being used every single day is stuff that is useful, right? So therein lies the solution to or the answer to so many of the questions that will immediately pop up. What's the value of a song? How long does a song have to be? Well, you know what? If you have a song and it's 2.5 minutes, that's very traditionally considered a full length song. You can chop that up into a couple of 30-second loops. You can chop that up into an intro and an outro bit. You can take that same theme and spin off little tiny motifs for like little stingers and stuff. There's different ways in which the creators could engage with that piece of content now, right? And use it multiple ways. So it's becoming a bit more attractive and a bit more useful to them. Again, that word, that useful word. So let's go back and scroll through the chat really quick and see what kind of questions came up in that first little bit there before we talk about uh, all of this other stuff. Sorry, the music was running for a while. Didn't realize it was so distracting. Um, Saffron is saying, funny thing is people still upload other music to YouTube and download sites and they don't get any copyright claims. It's really funny. Nobody gets in trouble for it. Well, actually, from the outside, you might think that, but what happens is if someone puts up uh, a video and they're using an artist's song, they're going to get flagged and they're going to get a notice from YouTube saying we're leaving the song in place, but we're going to take whatever ad revenue comes from this. Because when you stop and think about it, what's the label actually upset about? They're upset that someone's using this thing and they're not going to get a piece of it. Well, if it's some dude like uploading a video game clip and he wanted some, you know, Rage Against the Machine to be playing while you view his 30-second video game clip, like it's not like millions of people are going to tune in to most people's video clips. So it's not really worth the hassle, right? But every once in a while you're going to get someone with some traffic using a song like that, and that could actually be pretty beneficial to the label to take that ad revenue. So they just make this blanket rule that says anybody that uses this stuff, fine, go ahead, keep it up there. We're not going to yank it, but we're going to take every penny you make from the ad churn. So, um, Dreamia says I post my songs and get content ID claims. Wow. That means that someone else is using your music and has put it into the content ID system. Saf is saying another thing I see hip hop artists using samples and not getting in trouble. There's public domain, and then there's also different types of like publishing licenses and whatnot. Um, so regardless, you need to just kind of check and see what is and is not appropriate. There are also services that clear stuff for you. So some tracks have been opted into, some artists opt into these libraries that allow you to use songs. And the reason why they do that is because it allows for a certain amount of discovery. So people are still paying for it, but they're paying a lot less than they would have before. Uh, Yo, Central, good morning. If I did not say so already. You know how to find, or you can make a list of these libraries who work with an upfront fee. Yeah, so here's the thing is that if we all like, if everybody shared the same contacts, then those contacts couldn't help anyone at all because they would be overrun as well. So the best way for anyone to help anyone else get started in this is to share how to find these places so they can hunt and peck and find the ones that fit within the niche that they fit in the best. Um, and the overall best creative advice someone could give someone else getting into all of this is just do not try to sound like other folks. Don't try to fill space in a library because they don't have this sound that has been popular elsewhere. You've got to create your own thing, because that's what's going to make it sustainable for you. If you have something good, it's going to be good in 20 more years. You just have to stay with it and keep honing it and evolving it. Um, so the first one that I would put out there, or have put out there, Soundstripe, Epidemic, and Artlist. All three of those will be happy to entertain a conversation with you. Artlist is going to be the easiest one to get into. They're not going to give you the best numbers, but it's going to give you a way to get started. So if you're someone who is having a hard time finding a way to get started there, right? Know that there are other places that you can turn to as well, but know that this is one of those like top three traffic kind of places, right? You're not going to be able to just knock on a door in most cases and get into one of these more private libraries that all they do is get in front of decision makers all day long. That's all they do. Um, just know that there are some options for you to get in quickly, and start getting into the routine. That's the most important part, right? If you ask anyone in any industry, like, how did you come up? How did you learn? You kind of have to go through the gauntlet of spending the time getting to know the workflows and then building superior ones. You know what I mean? And then becoming irreplaceable. And it's the same thing in this industry. You just have to um, find the right spot. Okay, so I think we were around. I'm just scrolling through the chat here. What's a full body of work? Boom. Yeah, and Saf nails it right on the head here. He hasn't tried to upload to one of his portfolios in almost a couple years, honestly, because time goes by fast. It's true. You have to be really, really consistent. And that's the next big piece of advice is if you're going to make a run at this, stockpile some stuff. Stockpile some stuff so you know that you can handle the days that are inevitably going to come. You're going to get sick, you're going to get busy. There's another opportunity that's going to come along and you're going to want to be able to hop on it, right? Because that's what you have to do. So spend some time stockpiling stuff. Boom, 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 boom. And if you're going to build a portfolio where you're uploading like a sound at a time and people are going to be buying in an a la carte system, then just make sure that you're uploading every single day in that system, knowing that each time you hit that front page with a new release, that's marketing. It's name recognition, it's branding. It's an opportunity to be found because discovery is number one. Names are nearly meaningless with sounds and music anymore in these big subscription services with like a million other sounds and music cues floating around you until you've established a name for yourself, until someone recognizes the name and associates it with quality. And the easiest path to get there is daily, consistent uploads because the law of averages will say, it will always greet you. It will always say, hey, there's a percentage of people here that agree with you that that is a useful sound and that it is good quality. So all you have to do is just continue. Yo, Tom is here. Say my stomach is a full body of work too. That's awesome. Oh, it's hilarious. Javar says once you get into it, it's not that hard. It's the initial spark that you have to find. Once you get that, you just iterate on it. It just takes time and organization. This is basically what Chris has been doing on stream. Yeah, exactly. This is it. I show you the secret sauce each day. Um, Imagine it says had a couple of instances recently of people taking the demo tracks from the Element series and uploading it as their own songs. Yeah, people will surprise you. People will surprise you. I've literally been places and heard watermarked versions of tracks of mine, like in a commercial or in a show or whatever, and I'm like, they they weren't even smart enough to take the watermark off of it. So it's like every 10 seconds, it's like this thing is like spouting off. And it's like they liked the sound of the music enough to put it in there, but then they left the watermark. But you can't worry about those folks. You really can't. You really can't. That kind of stuff just happens. Um, what's Danny saying? Yeah, it's more annoying than anything because if they have it distributed on Spotify, Apple Music, etc., with social media integration, their upload of the song with usually their own titling gets tagged instead of my original audio. Yeah, yeah, that's awful. And apparently, it happens more frequently to loads of creators. Yeah, it's true, and this is more just a failing of the current system. Content ID is, I mean, it's like the initial iterations of things. When we look at back at them, they are infantile, right? And less than half serving. But when they first hit, they are groundbreaking, and they are way better than what we had, right? Which was nothing. So it's going to take time. It's going to take time. Andremia says, so basically, one can't just make music. One must make tutorials, make samples, make blog posts, make content. No, no, no. That's the opposite of what I'm saying, Andremia. What I'm saying is let those places do the work for you. You upload content every day. That is your job in one of these systems. The platform itself puts you on that front page, puts you into the new release queue. They are the ones that share on the social platforms what's been released that day. They are the ones that send out the email sharing the new releases. And if you're in there every single day, eventually your imagery is going to end up in those emails. Your imagery is going to end up in the social media. A playhead next to your name is going to show up. Um, that is the partnership at work. That's it. That's why you're going to get, you know, 50% or less or whatever of whatever you make for each sale, um, or way less, depending. It really depends on the platform, but just know that their reach is what they bring to the table. And most creators have zero reach. You know, they ping their friends and their mom and they're like, look what I can do. And their friends and their mom are like, cool, go, Tommy, you go. And that does really absolutely nothing for them. I mean, it gives them some emotional support, but it doesn't do anything, you know, like financially or anything. So, and here's the thing is that if, think about this, right? If you make music or a sound and then you make a tutorial about it, who's that for? That's for other people who are trying to make stuff that sounds like yours. These people are not going to buy your music. And these people are not going to do very well on their own doing that because they're trying to emulate someone. The thing here that's the big elephant in the room is your stuff should be in those marketplaces because if people are uploading your stuff, that means they think your stuff has value, and it does because it's getting accepted and used. Um, that's the thing. That's the thing. The platforms aren't bad. The platforms are just that. They're a platform for you. You need someone named Knuckles to manage the licensing enforcement, right? So yeah, this is really like if you were to run a Google search, yeah, real poly type, you know? Um, if you were to run a Google search that was something along these lines, um, top music subscription um, services, you're going to find results like Spotify and Tidal and Apple Music, Deezer, and stuff like that, right? Pandora. Now, if you type in top music licensing subscriptions, you're going to get something else. And these are the searches that you need to run if you're trying to find the places where you can um, try to get in and start making some music. You're going to, when you start seeing names like Soundstripe, Soundly, if you're, like a sound effects person or something like that, Epidemic, Artlist, if you start seeing those names in the search results, then you're running the right kind of search results. You can also type in something like top competitors to Epidemic Sound or Soundstripe or Artlist, and you'll get a whole bunch of results from Google. And you can just start checking those places out. Don't start sending stuff to all these places. Really, really, really check them out and see who are they servicing? Like what part of the industry are they servicing? Is this where you belong? Is this where you would want to be like uploading to every single day? Like is this what you kind of envision as the ideal place for your stuff? Um because you do want to steer in that direction. You don't have to start at the most ideal place, but ending up at the most ideal place um, should be the goal. Should be the goal. Marty the gangster squirrel, he smokes a nut cigar. Yo, DJ Empirical, how you doing, homie? Tom, you take care. Yeah, it's just something that you got to stick to. You know, if you're someone that has dozens of tracks, maybe hundreds of sounds, um, send a message of interest through to a place like Epidemic Sound and see what happens. Because now you're talking about a company that would be willing to pay you a living wage to make stuff. Just know that what you make ends up in their library. They can do what they wish with it, and that's pretty all right. You know. Working on your Notion dashboards, huh? Nice. Nice. Um, yeah, so Danny says, I reckon an important process that isn't talked about is just the process of asking, pitching the biz sense. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about that. Um, it's kind of funny because we're kind of raised, a lot of us are raised in this culture that tells you that it convinces you really that you need to sell yourself. And if you talk to anyone that's really, really good in sales, they'll tell you the first thing you do is you don't sell anyone on anything. Nobody wants to be sold on something. No one wants to be convinced. No one wants to hear their concerns and objections overcome one at a time. You know what I mean? We all would so much rather be introduced to something and learn about it, have our questions answered. That's really what we want. That's really what we want. So keep that in mind. And as someone who has, like, I've owned and operated my own staffing company placement, right, and worked with a couple of other companies doing it. I've literally hired thousands of people. The people that are all about them, like me, this is this is me. Those are the people, and this is like 95% of people that, like, uh, I don't even make it to the second page of the resume. There's a big red flag. Usually, if your resume is more than one page, you're not going to be seen. You're not going to be spoken to. There's a little bit too much emphasis on you, and most hiring folks will probably tell you that if you have a one-page resume, a cover letter, and a letter of recommendation, you get gold stars on your chart. It gives me everything I need to know. I've got a list of people that I can call. Everyone's going to prep their referral list, right? Their reference list. So everyone's going to get a pleasant response there. That's fine. A letter of recommendation is nice. And a short and succinct resume. The same goes for your sound reel and how you approach these folks. Make it short and succinct. Let them know exactly what you're hoping for up front, and don't talk about how great you are and about all of the various things about you. Talk about what you're hoping to accomplish in the conversation. That's really what you should do. Don't waste their time. Don't waste yours. Don't make it all hypey. Make it real. Um, a, I'm a lifelong producer, musician, uh, one man show over here. I produce a lot of really high content quickly, and I would love to know if some of this is content that you feel would work for your audience. Because I'm just going to crank it out no matter what, you know? Like, that's a really good kind of conversational tone to have, you know? I've got a lot of stuff. You think it would be a good fit? I think you guys are awesome. I think this would be a really great thing. And then don't say much more. Most of these folks are very automated. Like, most of the platforms are fairly automated. If they're smaller, know that their response time is going to be slower, and that their responses will be more personal, and that they are dealing with an incredibly high volume of people asking to be let in when they're not even asking people to ask. You know what I mean? So just kind of keep that in mind, that these people are under constant barrage, um, and that if you receive a rejection, that you just knock on the next door. But it's also important to reply to that rejection. Say, hey, thank you so much for taking the time. I really do appreciate it. Because you never know when you're going to come back around with that person. It's a very, very, very small industry. And if someone has worked A&R for one company, they're going to work A&R for another company. You know, if they're a gatekeeper somewhere, they're going to be a gatekeeper somewhere else. So, um, always be kind. Less is more. Yeah. Devar says, I'm kind of finding it hard to believe that these places would respond to or even see a message from an unknown individual. There are just too many artists. I'm assuming you can only submit things through a form, but maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, that's exactly it. So the first step is the initial gatekeeper. 9 times out of 10, um, that's a CRM. It's a program. It's a consumer resource management or customer resource management. It's uh, that form puts you into a piece of software and it initiates automations. You're going to receive an automated email response. The process that happens immediately after that is going to be partially automated on their end, right? They're going to have a real person then that looks at the content. And the very first thing they do is they look and see how much. And if it's just like a few files, boom, you're going to get an immediate response of, hey, come back and check with us again when you have more stuff. We definitely want to hear more. We like what we hear, blah, blah, blah. If you have a bunch of stuff, next thing they check is quality. And then, boom, you're going to get, again, a fairly automated response that says, hey, it looks like you have a lot of really great stuff here. It would be great to work with you. Let's talk in further detail, right? So it's not like, there's someone that's like, I'm scrolling, I'm looking for a name, I'm looking for a name, I'm looking for a name. Really, the business of A&R, the gatekeepers are, they're tasked with find the great stuff from people without names that we recognize. That's literally their thing. So, um, making it into that next pool is really just about inventory. Like, you just got to think about it like a business. This is inventory, right? Your jingles and beats and tracks and sound effects, they're no different than a potato or a widget or a door handle or anything. Really, honestly, they are something that you make and it's something else or someone else can sell, and it's something that somebody else needs. So really, it really just comes down to inventory. Doesn't matter about swagger or hype or zip code or any of that. Any of that. This is all turnkey business at this point. Um, and the more diverse and unique the content, then the better chance you have of a long term fit in one of these places. Licensing your music means it can end up just about anywhere, even in places you don't want or like. Yes, fact. And if you don't like the idea of people using your stuff, then just don't do it. Um, yeah, don't use Chat GPT for your letters and stuff. Where's the stuff that you're referring to? Full tracks on streaming services? If it's things like sound effects or 30-second stems, etc., how would you point them to that? Oh, demo reels. Okay, so put together demo reels. Don't send them a link to a Dropbox with all of these files to listen to. Send them to a SoundCloud where there's a playlist of some cherry picked titles and or a short demo reel if you're doing sounds and stingers and intros, outros, that like shorter form type stuff. Do a demo reel. The benefit of putting it on a website with enable or with embedded audio players like SoundCloud or just sending them to a SoundCloud is that if they want to hear more and browse around, they can and they will. And that's great. So the more of that, the better. Because if they click out of that playlist onto anything else in your bubble, that's a good sign. That means that they've liked what they've heard and they're looking for more. That's all you could really hope for at that point, right? So that's another really good piece of advice is just have a way to navigate to more stuff. Just put a bite-sized thing in front of them. Pick some of your best stuff. And they're going to know that it's some of your best stuff, which is why they're going to go click on the next thing. It's like, all right, so what does the stuff outside of this cherry picked playlist sound like? Is it meh? Or is it, wow, pretty good? Yo, what up, Roku? How you doing, homie? No, Saf. Saffron is saying I thought A&R was for the bigger artists who are already famous, and maybe I'm totally wrong. Yeah, exactly. It's for discovery. A&R is artisan relations, and it's the person that is tasked with bringing in talent is the acquisition uh, person, right? They're going to identify talent and try to acquire them. But the script has been flipped. It's now 2023, and these places can have a website and automate a lot of that stuff because there are more people creating content looking for ways to sell it. So they don't ever need to go out anywhere, right? If you ever wonder why someone might have one of these groups on Facebook that's like, post your beats, post your beats, post your beats, that's A&R. Like, that's why those groups exist, is because they're going to slog through. There's someone in there like, no, 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 no. Oh, that beat's fire. Like, that one's pretty good. And they're going to click through and they're like, okay, this other beat's pretty good. This other one's pretty good. Okay, this guy does type beats really, really well. So we're going to reach out to him for probably some production work or whatever, right? Roku says put your reels into styles as well. It makes it very accessible to for the directors if they're looking for something specific. Yeah, exactly. So you organize your stuff by type and subtype and mood and feel, and you're going to get a handle for it. Like, think about if you make 100 tracks this year and you go through and you're trying to organize it, how would you organize it? Maybe by genre. Okay, so now you're going to have like action, thriller, you're going to have drama, you're going to have suspense, maybe horror, maybe sentimental, um, some family friendly, some comedy, right? So you just naturally start to bundle things together in these different groups. So think that way, right? Think that way. Your content can be presented in whatever way you want. An audio player, a playlist is super flexible that way. You just got to share it in the right way. That's really all it is. And the law of averages will shake out, right? If you have something you believe is good enough that you dedicate a good chunk of your life to it, the law of averages says there's enough people out there that agree with you about that stuff. They have a need for that stuff. They like that stuff. They need access to it. That's all you need. Yeah, exactly. So Javar is saying, aha, kind of like when I post SoundCloud stuff here that I keep set to private. Exactly. Every single one of us on this side of the business has a whole bunch of those. That's why we all keep a pro SoundCloud account, right? And you're wondering, like, why do they maintain a pro sound account if they're never even posting new stuff? They're posting stuff constantly, but nobody ever sees it. It's all private. Imagine is responded to Saffron saying, this is something I've been thinking about. Perhaps this is my perspective, but it seems as well that there is an accepted collective perception that success, especially in aesthetics and art, however that might mean, is reserved for a small demographic based on social perceptions. Ah, yeah. Or the tools to be successful are reserved. You know what? The longer I live, the more I call fooey on that type of explainery because it's the same kind of conditioning that many people have fallen prey to in the industry in general, which basically says, oh, you're a musician? Music doesn't pay the bills, right? It's the drone of all of the negativity and all of the things that are like counter to success, right? Just do your thing. Do your thing. Just put it up there. You know what I mean? Like, you're young, you're a teenager, you get a job at McDonald's. You don't get a job at McDonald's because you're like, I really hope I can work at McDonald's forever. That's not why. You get a job at McDonald's because you need a way to go out and live, right? You got to get out of the house and make some cash and buy the music and games that you want and stuff like that, right? Same thing. Same thing. Don't put all the pressure of this is going to be an instant hit. I'm going to pay all my bills. People are going to love it so much that I'm never going to see the end of the downloads. Like, none of that. Let's go out there and do this stuff. That's it. That's it. Anything else is not doing this stuff. You know what I mean? And then whose fault is it? It can't be all of the what ifs. What ifs aren't real. So um, if that's really what's standing in the way, then we just don't just sidestep it. And we just started. Yeah, 1000%. Fooey. Yeah, fooey. Hey, Recluse, how you doing? Congrats on the album release, by the way. SoundCloud is a much better server storage service than music platform. Yes, yeah, that's exactly it. That's why SoundCloud is still here. We use SoundCloud constantly. You know what I mean? Not many people love the way their audio player looks or whatever. Like it really does serve a purpose. You want to know what's really not pretty and what's really frustrating? All of the platforms that the music libraries run off of. Not the brand new super shiny subscription services, but all of the others, which is like everything that existed before just a few years ago. And they all look exactly like they did when they were launched like 15, 20 years ago. They're awful. They're absolutely awful. And the reason why they don't change is because they don't have to. It's just an audio player. Like you're going to click play on it, you're going to listen to it, and you're like, I'm going to buy that or I'm not going to buy that. Right? It's really, really simple. There's a lot of extraneous stuff in this industry. Javar says, I'm right in the middle of going through all my old projects and documenting them in a spreadsheet along with MP3s. So far, I'm up to 141 tracks, most of which are just tiny starts, but it's starting to give me a feeling for what I do and where it all fits. I haven't looked at any of my streaming tracks yet. This right here, what Javar is doing, this is legit. This is important. What do you do? How can you quantify what you do? What is it that you make? I ask a lot of people like, okay, so you want to get started in this. So what do you make? What's your favorite thing to make? Oh gosh, I don't know. It's like, well, you should. Like, what is it? Like, you probably produce 80% of something and then 20% of something else. Like, what is that 80%? What is it that naturally just kind of falls out of you? And now put a name to it. Yeah. And balderdash and kerfuffle. It doesn't really fit, but I just like the word. Awesome. BlackBerry says the tools are not reserved. At its core, it has always been, and still is, a person's demonstrated ability, dedication to the craft, incremental success, peer support, reasonable expectations and goals, a reasonable approach to accomplish it, and luck. And remember, luck favors the prepared. Music is one of the very few businesses that the unseen and unacknowledged efforts of people you may never even realize helping you find success. 100%. The other thing I would put out there is that there are a whole bunch of rules that are in every single industry, not just industry, but every single walk of life, every single part of our lives. And one of those big ones is the 90-10 rule. Like nobody wants to be put into a box and be told that they're this or this. But let's be fair, right? 90% of the time, 10% of the people show up, right? If there's a job listing online, the very first thing that I check, if I want it, the very first thing I check, if they ask me explicitly not to drop off my resume or my application in person. Because if they don't say that, that's the very first thing I'm going to do. Is I'm going to show up, I'm going to shake someone's hand, I'm going to have a moment. It might be 30 seconds, it might be 20 seconds. I'm not going to waste their time. I'm going to leave an impression. And nobody in an email inbox can best that. Now it's between me and the other people that showed up, right? Now, what about mixers? Right? You go out to a networking event and it's uncomfortable and it's awkward. Do you go to the next one? No, most people don't because it was uncomfortable and awkward. But the person that goes to every single one of them, that person is known by every single person there. So who are they going to turn to the next time they need that specialty thing that you do? It's you. It's obviously you. You're there. And the same thing goes with uploading stuff. Oh, I got accepted to this library and now all I can do is create and it's amazing. I'm this never-ending fountain that's just gushing greatness. And then 3 weeks into it, you're like, "Oh man, silver lining's kind of worn off a little bit." And I did spend the last 2 days basically just kind of playing video games, but I'm still like super totally hyped on it. But you know what? There are 10% of people out there that did not sit around and play video games for those 2 days. You know what I'm saying? Like the 10% operate differently. And there will always be a smaller number of those people. So if you put yourself into that category, into that bubble, into that box that's checked, then things will pan out. You just have to be persistent and present. You really do. Javar says that's the only reason I got SoundClouds, just so I had an online repository that I could point people to. 100%. Yeah, it's definitely not for people listening to your music like radio, right? Danny says the tools are not reserved and the social perception is wrong. What's more important is the dedication to the craft and whatever that specific person needs to do for their specific vision of success. What up? That is it. DJ Empirical says, yes, this is literally a part of what I'm doing right this second with Notion. In addition to do things, I'm also cataloging partial tunes and implementing a way to decide where each goes next, even if it's mothballs. That's a really great thing too, because now you can visually see the life cycles of your content. And I'll tell you what, there shouldn't be a mothball drawer. And here's why. I have royalty-free portfolios that I put up years and years ago, like more than 10 years ago, that were absolutely like rejected things. Like I made some stuff for some clients. I'm like, all right, here's 6 tracks. Which one do you want? They're like, all right, we'll take this one, and this one. I'm like, okay, cool. I'll upload the others to this portfolio. Here's some sounds you want. Which ones of these do you want? All right, we'll take these. I don't need that one or that one. Okay, cool. I'm going to take those. I'm going to upload that to the portfolio. That portfolio is a loss leader. It's there to acknowledge my existence, allow someone to discover me, realize that these sounds are pretty good, but they're not exactly what I want. They hit that message button, boom, I've got a client. I'm going to impress the heck out of that client. I'm going to give them a discount. Their turnaround time is going to be ridiculous. It's going to be awesome. I'm going to have a customer for life. I didn't sell anything from that portfolio to that person, and I don't want to, or I don't need to. But you know what's really funny? You know what's really funny? Is that all my utilities every single month are paid by that cutting room floor stuff that I was never ever going to sell to anyone, that I never would have sold to any of my clients. You know what I'm saying? So like all that stuff adds up and it really matters. And knowing where your stuff goes in its life cycle is so, so important. I really applaud you guys for making these spreadsheets and actually looking at your content and kind of putting a name to it and identifying it, what kind of value it has. Good on you. That's really good stuff. Rockhound is here saying, hey, Chris, I changed a few things in my last submission. In particular, I changed the kick and, of course, had to adjust the mix again. You have a few minutes to list again today. Yeah, sure, we could do that. Yeah, Danny is saying consistency. That's exactly it. If you are anything, be consistent. That's all that anyone can really ever hope for. Because again, law of averages. Like if you make stuff, that stuff has value, and it has value to a certain percentage of people in this world. Keep making it, or else they will never find you. Javar says, and making that spreadsheet has helped me realize that I've got enough material that I can turn what was just going to be an EP into a full album that I'm hoping to get done for next Bandcamp Friday. Nice. I wouldn't have gotten there if I hadn't started the spreadsheet. It's helping me focus and get an overall view of everything. Yeah. A lot of people think very quickly about one of these situations and they come up with a couple of what ifs or, oh, yeah, buts, and then that's it. That's it. They draw a line in the sand mentally, like, I am not crossing this line. No one can convince me, and it's because I had this knee-jerk reaction, which is really silly. But we do it all the time. It's a defense mechanism. It's more of an anti-ego thing. It's like yeah, it's a fear. It's a fear. It's really what it is. It's a fear-based response. And I'll tell you what, if you do all of this in the secrecy of night, dim your lights, close your shades, navigate to that URL in private mode, upload your content, hit submit and see what happens. If nothing happens, you know what? Nobody else knows. Like there's really, it's it's like a no risk kind of thing. Maybe also strategically creating demand. Yeah, absolutely. Like once you have your content drip established, now you can start realizing why kind of business is the greatest sport in the world, right? Um, there are an infinite number of things that you can do um, to do more. You know what I mean? Or to do things differently. There's an infinite number of ways. And once you have the content, you are free. You're free to spend some time to do that because you know what? You've got 1,000 different items in that portfolio, baby. Other people don't. Today, you're taking a you day. You're just going to spend an entire day. You're going to listen to your stuff, listen to other people's stuff, just sit and think about what you could do differently. You're going to have great aha moments when all that stress isn't there of content, 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 content. Dremia says, I think music and art are the silliest things to get into for a career. I should have gone with programming. Bar says, for the last few weeks, I've been going through that phase, and I've started asking myself every morning, do I want to be the person that plays video games all day, or do I want to make music? I do have a problem of easily getting hooked on a game because of my game dev background, and that question helps me fight that. Yeah, yeah, it's tough. It's tough, but you can have more than one thing. Blackberry says, one funny thing for me, I have never gotten a job from a resume. Huh? Although I have often had to provide one after being interviewed. My resume is often interpreted as overqualified or underschooled. Those fancy arts and arts management programs didn't exist when I started 40 years ago. My problem in a nutshell, there were no programs that I could enroll in to learn the things that I now do or teach or whatever. There are still not programs for some of the stuff. Overqualified is something that you hear when you are part of that 10%. Like every single one of you should be hearing that. If you were to put all of your stuff on paper, it quickly becomes one of those, oh boy, kind of situations. You know, obviously you check all the boxes, otherwise you wouldn't be applying for this thing. But the overqualified thing is great. I mean, sure, it sucks to feel the sting of someone saying, sorry, you can't have this job because you're overqualified. But the very first thing that was running through their mind when they were reading it wasn't this person is overqualified. They're going to be bored in this position. The very first thing that they think is, oh, this person would be much better suited for X, Y, Z. They have already imagined you in a different role. That's great. Now you're on their radar. You know what I mean? Most people have a really hard time with that response. But you know what the best response is to that response? I totally get it, and I appreciate me not like wanting to challenge me and not finding me bored in a position. I would never want to do that to you or your company. Please do me a favor and keep me in mind for any other opportunities. Are there any other opportunities currently, like in a different department that I might be able to have a conversation with someone about? That's the best way to respond, the overqualified thing. Recluse says it's also a good conversation starter when you hear your royalty free loop on the radio. Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah, and DJ Empirical says, yeah, Mothballs was shorthand, but you're right. Library stuff is a longer term project for me. Haven't gotten there yet. Thus the Notion stuff. How consistent for how long? Well, in Dremia, how long do you want to chase the dream? Like, if you want it to be a career, then chase it forever. Just know that you have to chase a little less hard each and every day once you do hit that stride. Like once your bills are being paid and stuff, you know that your bills are going to be paid because it's a pretty consistent return month over month when you're uploading content into an existing platform. And it actually has a fairly linear path up, just like most careers. But the stuff has got to be there. So, dude, DJ Empirical, take care, homie. All right, Rockhound, let's do this. Oh yeah. And Danny is saying you got to keep practicing. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Javar, just reading your comments about like the spreadsheet is also just about the process of going through every single song and actually listening to it. Hmm. Jafar, toss stuff into a playlist or whatever and put it on the Discord. Absolutely. Saf says sometimes consistent content is hard for me because sometimes lose my motivation to keep making things that it almost feels like I'm chasing success, and I think that's not a good way to get into something these days. I've been trying to figure out a way to reach niches that I really want to work with and dumbing down what type of people I want to work with rather than range out to random game dev and people in hopes I would get something. Yeah, just be sure not to overthink it. Or says, remember at the beginning of the stream, Chris said, don't worry, this will only take a couple of minutes. Oh. Let's check this Discord. All right, so this one is from Rockhound. Been accepted today. Yeah. Okay. So I like the new kick better. I like it maybe just a touch more, not a whole lot more, but just a touch more saturation. I like the it feels like it fits the mood better. What'd you say? Warmer and fuller. It is. It is. Sure. Saf is saying, well, it's good that you're sharing your knowledge about the industry of licensing and a way to mold yourself into the industry. I don't think you would find a lot of advice like this elsewhere. Yeah. Um, I'm trying to remember what I was about to say about one of these comments that came in while that song was playing, and I can't remember. Javar brought up that he's going to take a gig. Um, Pushing. Oh, ground floor opportunities. Okay, so and Rockhound, I don't think there's anything else on this. Like, master this one, get this one out. I don't think there's anything else really. All right, so uh, back to the stuff here. The ground floor opportunities. This is the biggest thing. No one is really willing to admit it outside of like gloating about how much they've made on the stock market or whatever with their ground floor opportunities. But a lot of people have a lot of success in their life because they were there at the right place at the right time with one job, and it took care of them for the rest of their life. Maybe they didn't stay at that job, but that job gave them the title, the experienced or the perceived experience that was needed to take all of the rest of the steps in their career. A ground floor opportunity is everything. You're aiming for a ground floor opportunity. You don't want to go into the most saturated marketplace or network and try to dominate. You don't want to, the same way that you don't want to go into a busy marketplace, find the stuff that's working and say, I'm going to copy that. Like no one's ever thought of that, right? It's never, ever, ever going to work. But if you get in there at the beginning, that's all it takes. Like you don't have to hype, you don't have to build yourself up, nothing. Just get there in the beginning and then stay there and keep doing it. That's all it is. Ask anyone that's had a great deal of success that is like a lifer or close to a lifer in their industry. And if they're really honest, this is probably going to be one of the things that comes out. Like the fact that, like fresh out of high school or fresh out of college or one of those, right? Like I got a part-time job at this place, and I didn't have the experience, but whatever. And next thing you know, like the people that you know and the places that you keep showing up to are everything. But the ground floor opportunity, I cannot stress it enough. Ground floor opportunity. Um and community. Community is another big one because you'll be surprised just how much other people are willing to do for you to help you gain recognition. Blackberry says, go into a busy marketplace and say, I'm going to do what everyone else is doing, says the creators of about 40,000 a day uploads Spotify. Yeah, you know, just Spotify alone. If you were to try to listen to everything that's uploaded, it'd take you like if you were around the clock, it'd probably take you like over 100 days, I bet. Right? So if you like spent a work day each day just trying to listen, do everything that would upload it would take you a year to listen to everything that's uploaded in a day. This is why you really shouldn't worry about what other people are working on. If you're a creator, like the reason why you do that is because you're in a community and you're caring about what other people are doing because you care about those people. You know what I'm saying? Not to like harvest ideas and such. Because if you're following inspiration and really chasing things and being innovative, you're going to have so many moments worth capturing. Javar says, "Did you say at the beginning that you're going to make some announcement today, or is that just still pending?" No, no announcement today. I'm going to make some drones, maybe get around to some production time. Yeah, make stuff you want to make. Yeah, yeah, you guys got it. Okay, so currently Spotify is seeing over 60,000 uploads a day. Yeah, like let's go way on the short side and say that each one of those is 2 minutes. What's 60,000 times 2 minutes? It's just so much stuff. So much stuff. Um, yeah, which is why you should be prepared to hear some no's and exactly why those no's shouldn't matter. Because most of the time when you're getting a no, it's not because your stuff doesn't measure up. It's because they can't do what they want with the stuff they already have. Everyone has so much stuff. Yeah, that's pretty wild. Well, let's make some stuff, huh? You guys keep asking questions in the background, and we'll answer. The thing that I will say about ground floor opportunities is the same thing that I've been saying for a while on the streams, which is I wish I could share detailed information about some of the things that will be announced soon. Just know this, that by April of this year, you guys can expect one of those ground floor opportunities to come along. And it's up to you guys how you take advantage of an opportunity. Danny says, I can't imagine 60K relates to 60 totally original pieces. Right? Right? Mm, yeah. Well, there is sort of data on that, and that is it's a big number, but like it's like 80% of people that have uploaded twice to Spotify will never upload again or something like that, which is one of their data points. Hmm. Data can tell you a lot of stuff. Like data is the money side of the business for these platforms, which is why a lot of them can operate the way they do on the front end. A lot of people are like, if they never make a profit from their music streaming, then what the hell? Why? How are they able to do that? Think about all the data that they're selling on the back end that they're not reporting in their music earnings. It's pretty. Javar, ground floor opportunity. Another one will be occurring by April. Here's another thing that I'll point out. If you take a look at the folks that are really on top of the trends within the industry and understand how to find and or create or cash in on opportunities, a lot of them have one thing in common. They pay attention to the news. They either show up to events, they watch highlights of events, they listen to podcasts that relay events that happened. Trade shows are important. People winning innovation awards, those awards are important because they're signals to the rest of us and the general public saying, pay attention. These guys have just created something. It's brand new. It's coming to the mainstream very, very soon. Um, get yourself on early access lists, get yourself on beta lists, get yourself into ground floor opportunities. When the general public gets into a place, it's generally speaking too late. So get yourself on early access, get yourself into beta, and kind of operate with the intention of finding the next ground floor opportunity. And think about it. That's what people do all the time. Stock market, right? It's absolutely doable. Blackberry says if you listen to 30 tracks an hour at 2 minutes apiece, that's 720 songs of continuous listening per day. That's 262,000 of tracks in a year, or about 4 days of uploads. Even if you only listen to EDM, you won't even be able to listen to it all. Exactly. Yeah. Okay, so here's the thing. Saf right here kind of encapsulates what I hear a lot. Saf says, um, not sure if a ground floor opportunity will come along for me. I don't think I have enough content to get that. We'll see what happens. I think most of you guys are way ahead of me. Yeah, I just think that a lot of us have just been conditioned to think that we're not as good as others, or that other people have some kind of sauce or something that we don't. Yeah, Recluse is absolutely correct. Spotify has done some pretty stuff. Uh, Andremia, yes. Andremia is asking, are there some of these trade shows online? Yeah, a lot of them will sell like an online access to an online stream, which will show you the main stage. So you would see the presentations, maybe even pitches of different companies that have either new products or services, platforms, or introducing um, big new features and existing products or whatever, right? And I'm talking like NAM and CES, and like there's international trade shows that happen, like Super Booth, right? Which is very like music oriented. Um, there's so many opportunities. There's so many opportunities. And if you take that macro down to the micro, if you just look at your whatever city is closest to you, I can pretty much guarantee you that there's an independent game developer guild of some kind, and there's an independent filmmaker group of some kind, and that they're pretty tight, and that the people in those little bubbles, they work with each other constantly, and it always will be that way. Um, and you can get yourself into those circles the same way you can get yourself into like a trade show circle and get all sorts of information about projects being worked on and stuff like that. Blackberry says, so true about the news. That's why I am always reading current things about the weirdest parts of creation and innovation in the music business. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. This is how people stay informed. Watch some of Ben Jordan stuff on YouTube. The shady stuff hasn't stopped. Yeah, for sure. Oh, I need a podcast. Another podcast. Hey, let's make some stuff. We'll keep chatting while I make some stuff. But let's grab something I don't have to think about. Grab serum so we can keep talking. Going to start working on a second volume for the drones series. Um, so I think the focus of this one's going to be synthetic. I want you guys to help me get my bearings on this one, I think. Um, Drone, a sustained tonal element, right, that runs in the background, usually as a sound bed with little to no change over time. Um, I kind of call BS on that. I make my stuff move and wiggle and all sorts of stuff, even change pitch sometimes, not all the time, but I like to make them interesting. The thought here is that as we develop the library over the coming years, that the volume one of a product line is kind of a sampler of sorts of different types, like different subtypes of that sound type are represented, right? So, for instance, in drones volume one, there was some orchestral and some organic and some synthetic type sounds, right? And then different subtypes of those. So volume two will be synthetic. I'm kind of kicking down or kicking around a few ideas of themes, sci-fi, perhaps, tension, maybe is just another one. Um, I'm also thinking like maybe warm or mellow. Um, love to kind of get a gauge from the room on this one. What are some of the favorite types of drones typically? Andremia says, to be honest, I'm not good with others. I just want to make music and be able to sustain myself. Andremia, that statement right there makes you a very highly qualified individual for the portfolio approach. All you have to do is upload stuff to a folder every day. That's it. You don't have to interact with any people. You get to produce the content that you want, and you just keep growing your business over time. Yeah, so as I make some of these drones, share what some of your favorite types of drones are. Bagpipes, there you go. All right, so if we're going to start with maybe just the sawtooth on this one, because that's a good starting place for pretty much any sound. Let's go up on our unison here. Kind of wide. And let's get away from this default waveform. Let's go here. Let's go add a sine wave. Let's go down 1 octave, maybe down 1 octave. And we'll leave it in this situation here. We'll take down our level and FM on out here. All right, so we're going to modulate the FMing of this. Now it sounds like this. And we're going to slow that down. We're going to trigger it so it starts in the same spot each time. We're going to bring this down to, say, 4 bars. That's a little too fast for me. Let's try 8 bars. And I'm going to add a little bit of drive to this. And we're also going to start now modulating the filter a bit. And let's just kind of make something kind of funky. Just so it's not quite as predictable. And we're just going to set this off on maybe like a, what did I say on the other one, an 8 bar? We'll do a 4 bar modulation on this. All right, now let's turn off those oscillators. Let's find a tiny bit of noise. Maybe a kick. Ooh, that one's kind of cool. Okay, so way down it sounds pretty blubbery. Let's bring this up a bit. Okay, that one's kind of cool. We're going to just we're going to just take a little envelope or a LFO shape here. We'll put this here, and let's put this on 8th notes maybe? Let's listen to this. All right, now let's put this through the filter. So now it gets modulated. Let's put back in our bass tone here. Just a little bit of interest, and if we saturate that, we'll hear that a little bit better. So let's do that. Let's put in a little hold, and we're just going to take this drive way down here. All right, now let's delay this. I know it sounds kind of weird because it's going to be a steady tone, right? But we've got these tiny little bits of texture that we've put in there. We're going to carve out the highs and lows. So these things start to take more of an ambiguous form here. And we're just going to stagger this. Do like an eighth note in the right, quarter note in the left channel. Make it a little longer than an eighth note, shorter than quarter note. Yo, Danny, take care. Made one with 180 BPM, huh? That's a good point. Let's bring this one down to 60. I'm gonna feel a little more methodical now. All right, we're gonna take and we're going to wait, no, we're gonna FM from our noise oscillator. You hear the weirdness starting? Let's go ahead and put this into compressor. Verb. Got the lows, highs. This 64th note LFO rate is pretty interesting. Pretty big sound. I kind of like that. Let's take a look at this last filter here. And let's just put a little something interesting in, like a comb. Means we're gonna have to ratchet up our resonance. And now we're going to bring back our mix a bit. Say like 35% to start. Bring in that double octave here. Bring up some of that comb. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to modulate through that as well. So let's do, this was a 4-bar and 8-bar. So we'll make this one a 16-bar. We'll trigger that. So this thing will actually loop. And we're going to kind of peak out with a fairly intense comb level. And let's just give ourselves a little sustain up here. So we do kind of gain that for a bit. Let's see what this sounds like. I'm going to move our reverb down. Yeah, this feels good. I'm going to turn off the onboard reverb here, and I'm going to do two things. I'll put a reverb on out here. Room on this guy. All right, let me just take off the bottom end of this. Top of it. Take out the low spread a bit. Add a little delay here. All right, and now I'm going to put some phase distortion on this. I'm going to kind of smear it, make it a little grimy. Take a look at a Goni well like that. Oh, look at that thing. Oh, there's that dusty wind blown effect. Recluse is asking, hey, OhmLab, do you use the Chaos LFOs in Serum? I feel like it's a powerful, underrated sound design tool. Yes, yes, I do. In fact, I love the power of random and chaos so much that I will oftentimes create something very complex. I'll spend my time, make everything really nice and complex, save that patch, right? And now I'm going to start creating iterations so I can kind of stay within an overarching theme or within like an overarching architecture that I'm wanting to explore. And I'll use the power of random and chaos to help me discover new jumping off points. So like new presets for the synth that there's enough distance from the original one and this one that I'm willing to save it again, right? It's the same kind of iterative randomization approach that you see me use in Absinthe all the time, right? Which is create a sound. Okay, great. That sound is now complete. Now I'm going to use um, the morphine feature or the mutate feature, and I'm going to mutate that sound maybe 50% toward this other sound that I've created in Absinthe. So I start to kind of bring in characteristics of both. And then after I do that, start entering into the randomization um, process. I love the power of random and chaos. And I do think that they're underrated. And I think that a lot of people, once they get too far down the path of intention, um, they don't. I feel like a lot of people stop pushing the random button a lot later in their careers, and I find it to be a little uh, not disappointing, but sad, kind of that we've got um, I don't know, just lots and lots and lots of very brilliant people kind of cheating themselves out of uh, I don't know, this easy path to discovery. I don't know. I guess it's the Bob Ross in me. I wish people used more randomization and owned it. You know what I mean? I'm a big fan of it. Ooh, the drop down. The drop down. Oh. All right, let's try it up here. Yeah, 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 yeah. Jamar, OhmLab, serious chaos magic practitioner. Look at this waveform. God, that's like some borderline Blade Runner stuff right there. All right, let's get dystopia. Ooh, what if the theme was like dystopia or Discord? Detuned. I'm trying to think of themes within the synthetic realm that are loose enough that we could traipse across a bunch of different genres, because it would make it more relevant to more people. Disruption. Casio. All right, what was I about to do? Oh, I was about to open up Serum and add a little bit of modulation here. So we're going to go into, let's say it's this LFO, and we're going to go up to our course. We'll leave this on a bipolar, but we're just going to set this to maybe, or actually, no, let's not set this on the course. Let's set this on the fine, and let's just bring this within, say, like 35 cents. And this one does not necessarily need to be 4 bar and see what it sounds like here. Oh, it's grimy. Oh, it's so grimy. All right, we got to change up the shape. We'll kind of inverse from what the other guys have been going through. We'll make these kind of dramatic here. Offset them so they're not feeling really predictable. Ooh, okay. All right. Just one last change here. We're going to feed into this drop pitch a bit more here. So we get some nice detuned action. All right, so now we kind of come back up to center. All right, cool. This should be kind of wonky. All right, let's just audition here really quick across a couple of different waveforms. I'm just going to grab some of mine. Ooh, I'm digging it. All right, let's check another wavetable. Try this one up high. Let's try a single note instead of double. Oh, this is good. All right, what's our multimeter? Okay, let's check another wavetable. Check this one. That's beastly. What about up high? Oh man, look at this waveform. Look at this waveform. Let's go up an octave. Oh, that's like nicely unsettling. Paul says, if you get smart, chaos at play in all your work. Yeah, I was just having this conversation with some folks at the end of last week talking about how your stuff shouldn't ever just sit there. If your stuff is just kind of sitting there, then there's almost no point in creating it. Like you should at least give life to your creations, if nothing else. So when you think it's done, go back and add some movement. It's another thing that I really like doing with my drums is like finding something fairly complex here. It just has so much more interest and depth when melodic minor. Yeah, I love the distortion on these. And these waveforms are out of control. Oh, and that kick, that noise, that kick being modulated at 61, 64th notes. Yeah, 64th note. All right, cool. So I think we've got basically our first sound. I'm going to kind of modulate through or kind of audition a whole bunch of different wavetables and wavetable positions in this. right in there. Okay, I'm going to add another LFO. And we're just going to modulate slowly. We'll trigger, and we'll go 16 bars. So our drones will be at least that long, and that would put them at 1 minute apiece. Fine. Little time-based effect, it'll probably ring out to about 120. Just listen to this wavetable modulation. What happens if we get just slightly atonal? Ooh, yes, yes. All right, let's go down another wavetable. See, this is how you build the continuity. This is how you do it. You build your kind of framework first, right? You give yourself a little rough sketch of like, all right, this is how I want the sound to be delivered, basically. And you do it in a way that you can just start swapping out some wavetables and make it easy on yourself. All right, so I think what I'll do is we'll put a release of about close to 2 seconds on this, and let's have a maybe a 1.5 second attack. Bring down our sustain by a few at least, and we'll spread that out a couple of seconds. So there will be a fair bit of change over time, this 1 minute. Yeah, that's nice. Let's try a pi again. Sweet. Let's swap out the distortion type here. The sine shaper gives a nice little bright lift to it. I like this one. Let's save this project. Go drones and two. We never did anything on day one. We'll set up day 2 here. All right, so there's our first. This one's going to be, we'll call this one maybe dystopia. Set up another one. Let's do maybe a Maybe more of a sine wave based one to get started on this one. And let's start an octave down on this, and we'll just bring another sine wave in, offset it a bit, and we'll go up, say, octaves from that. We'll FM into it. All right, so we're gonna FM some small amount of harmonic wiggle in there. We'll filter this. Trigger that. Let's get another layer in there. We'll call it some noise. And let's do like a, yeah, maybe something like this. Let's get octave. Let's get a tuner on here so I can context on this. There we go. Yep. All right, cool. Close enough. Let's call that good. We're going to bring that in at a higher clip. We'll trigger this. We'll say this is going to be like a 16th. Going to set a base value of that noise. And we're going to bring back in our oscillators. All right, let's bring down our FM just a bit. Cool, and let's give this some voices. Just 2 for now, just make it nice and wide. Let's give it a little bring our noise back within reason here. Get another filter involved. Let's check our tuner again. Try that. Cool. There's a C. Back. Again. We've got the, here's what we're doing. We've got like this slow and steady modulation on the FM, so it's barely eking some harmonics there. We've got some air can noise being modulated. Those two things together give us quite a bit of life force. It sounds like some machinery or something. We've got the sample and hold, adding our grit here. So now it's really starting to feel more of like a device or something. We'll go ahead and we'll glue that a bit. All right, so we got a little verb on this. I'm going to get my size down just a little bit. I can get up just to kind of smear this out a bit. All right, let's get our delay worked in there. Off center. Go 8 notes and half notes this time. Let's give this a softer attack. Some release. Similar shape to the last one. Give it a chance to this thing. Take down our dry wet on our delay. All right, let's get into a more interesting waveform. So I'm just going to grab some of mine here. All right, so we're going to take an LFO, make this wiggle just a little bit, bring this down to like an 8 bar. Now let's add some filter modulation. I have an idea. Let's go in here to distortion. Let's take this down to square. Cool. So we'll have like a little distortion-y feedback kind of thing. Let's create ourselves a little band pass moment here. Yo, Kakashi. What's shaking, Obi? All right, back to our filter. Let's set up something fun here. Let's get, here, I'll just load up one of my funky ones here. Let's do a little, I don't know, what's this? Rounded Awesome here. Perfect. And we're going to set that to our filter down here. And no, we're not going to get all weird and crazy with it. All right, let's see what this sounds like. Yeah, pretty twisted. Let's bring this over to envelope position and bring this down to, say, a 2 bar. Let's do a 4, and let's bring our down just a little bit. Nice, Kakashi. Yeah, what I had last week, man, it's like it's letting its grip off me now. Thank goodness I'm starting to feel a little bit more normal, but man, just really wiped out for like a week. Let's see what this sounds like double octave. All right, and let's change out the wavetable and see. All right, so less 0 square and less sample and hold. Okay, now let's add a little feedback layer in here so it stays interesting. Let's get in glasses. This pitch shifter is great. All right, let's check out our tuning really quick on this. Let's see. Great. This is great. Yeah, that is a panic-inducing sound, right? Right? Yeah. That's why I'm thinking, is like dystopian, is that a good theme? Is that a pretty solid theme? Or should we like back off that just a little bit, make some of them kind of dystopian feeling, and just have like the feeling of like discord or detuned perhaps be the overarching theme? Let's go up to a piercing drone really quick and see what that feels like. Yeah. Yeah. All right. And let's just go up to an ultra really quick. Okay, so our noise modulation is still a little spicy, but we can just bring down our bass level on that and leave the modulation depth the same. And then our FM can come down just a little bit. Well, Kakashi, this would actually be just one sound of like a few hundred. So trying to figure out the theme, the overarching theme. The type of sound is drone. The subtype is going to be synthetic. So then the next question becomes, is there going to be a theme beyond synthetic? And I'm kind of feeling like this left of center, slightly uneasy. We can deal with the feels of it, like being more hopeful, right? That's as easy as going like, let's, where can I go? go like here. So I can go up an octave and then plus a seventh. It gives it a slightly more. Yeah, let's go into a different wavetable. I'm gonna have to bounce here in a couple. Got more meetings. I should say. Where am I going? Okay. Wrapping up live stream. There shortly. All right, cool. All right, I think I have a pretty good idea of where I want to go with this one. This one's going to be digital. So we've got one patch that's dystopia, another one that's digital. And go for another one that's like harmonic maybe or uplifting maybe, but it too will have some detuned nature. Oh, I need to dial in some pitch modulation on this to keep it in the detune theme. But I like where we're going with these. That's a great one. Kakashi says, there was this one dystopian idea I heard where super AI decides to lock humans into pods and pump them full of happy brain chemicals. I don't know if that helps the sound at all. That's awesome. All right, kitty cats. I'm going to bounce, so let's get you dropped off in a raid here. Let's see what we can do about that. Let's see. That's a pretty good. Dremia, you are welcome. You are welcome. Let's see who's rateable right now. Hey, Decipher's on. Let's go say hi to Decipher. Little DJ action. It's always good to see Decipher. I'll see you guys on the flip on Wednesday, Hump Day, in just 2 days. We'll do more of this. We'll answer questions. We'll talk making money, something. We'll do some sound design. It'll be fun. And if you upload something to the community uploads for the community challenge, we'll listen to your stuff too. Until then, I appreciate you. Thank you for hanging out with me. Like I said, we'll do it again on Wednesday. And don't forget, you guys are like the greatest freaking community out there. Don't forget that. Appreciate you. Seriously. I'll see you on the flip. Peace out.